my daughter Waneka, my lovely daughter Waneka. Um, it all started, my whole situation started years ago, actually. I've always struggled in the last few years with being really, really tired, and my rapid heart rate and heart murmur I had all my life. And so the rapid heart rate would really wind me. And I remember just walking and suddenly feeling winded like I ran a marathon. Or sometimes I couldn't get out of my vehicle. I would have to recline my chair back and just sit there or fall asleep for like half an hour with my daughter in the back, waiting patiently for me while I just recouped so I can get up out of my car and go in the house. And it became a regular thing. And I know frequently I'd be driving on the highway and suddenly feel like I'm going to pass out while I'm going like 100 kilometers. And so it was really, really bad. And I remember saying, Waneka, pray for me, pray for me. And she would just start praying and praying, and I would be shaking my head, trying hard not to pass out. And it was just really, really much a struggle, very much a struggle. And at my job, I worked at the University of Windsor, and it got really, really bad to the point my memory was going. I couldn't remember things. I was struggling at my job. I would lose everything. I was just brain fogged 24/7. I wasn't really functioning so well, and I started losing a lot of weight. And at one point, my hair started falling out, and I thought, well, what's going on here? But then it fell out to the point where I was completely bald. I had patches, maybe patches left in the front, just peach fuzz almost in the front, and the rest was bald. And then finally, I just said, you know what? I went to the hair salon, and I just said, cut off the peach fuzz in the front. I have to just deal with the fact that I'm bald. And it was devastating for me. Just knowing that I was deteriorating and the doctors didn't know what was going on. And I'm really thankful for one of the doctors that I switched to, because at one point she just started running so many tests on me, trying to figure out what's going on. At that point, I thought maybe I was terminally ill. And it was really bad because I'm alone with my daughter, and I wasn't able to be a parent. And leaving a child so young without a parent was really, really sad. It was really, really hard to deal with, to think of the fact that my daughter had to really grow up in the last year and a half. She would frequently, I would just be totally passed out. I could not get up, and she couldn't even wake me. She would be saying, "Mommy, can I have dinner? Mommy, can I have dinner?" And I wouldn't be able to get it for her. And I don't know, she experienced a lot. But one thing I'm really proud of is that she really was there for me. Not like a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old should, but she really grew up. Didn't you?
I don't really like to talk about it, but last year was very hard for me because my mommy was always sick. She couldn't eat. I would go in the fridge and eat snacks. I would make bracelets for mommy, so when mommy comes, maybe she could see my bracelets.
Yeah, I remember that one time, I was part of an executive, and I called them and told them I couldn't make the meeting. I was not okay. I was laying down. I could not get up for the life of me. I felt like I was 500 pounds, and so I laid on the couch, and at some point I lost consciousness. I didn't fall asleep, but I actually lost consciousness. Now, of course, unaware to me, my daughter was in the house by herself, and she probably was only 6 and a half, and she was gone by herself in the house, roaming for hours while I was unconscious. And I remember at one time my executive, the CEO of the company, felt in his heart something was wrong, so he called me, no answer. That's unlike me. He called again, no answer. So he drove to my house, and he buzzed the house, no answer. And my buzzer's just so annoying. So he thought, this is not right. So he came to my window where I was laying, and he could see me behind the curtain. He could see me, and he was banging on the window, no answer. So at that point, he convinced someone to let him in the building, and he knocked on the door and talked to my daughter through the door and said, it's Uncle Mark, open the door. And that was the only way he could get the ambulance in there to rush me to the hospital. And at that point, they wouldn't allow, from what I hear, they wouldn't allow my daughter to come in the ambulance. And it was tough for her, because at that point, I can't even imagine what it'd be like to see your mother wheeled out in an ambulance and you're not able to be with her, you know? At that point, after, when I came to and I'm in the hospital, she told me that she thought that I was not, that her mommy was gone, that she wasn't going to have a mommy anymore. And at that point, I realized that this is serious. This is really serious. And so I at that point, I remember calling somebody to come pray for me, and they came to the hospital and they started praying for me, you know, and it was tough because I just would go constantly and get prayer because doctors had no answers, I had no answers, and all I could look to was God and say, God, I know you have a plan for my life somehow. I know you've put this child over my life. I'm taking care of her. You appointed me to take care of this child. I cannot leave her now. And so I began to start searching for answers myself. And finally, over some time, I actually almost got fired from work because of so many issues I was having. And the doctors couldn't co-sign it to say I had issues. So it was just on record that I just couldn't do my job. So I had to leave my job at the university, and I went on sick leave. And it was just a mess financially and everything, and we were trying hard to get through, and I put on my happy face and I would pray, and we would just really pull for any type of hope we had that things were going to change. And eventually I got diagnosed with Graves' disease. I was hoping that it was something else. They told me that there's 10 different types of hyperthyroid diseases, and Graves was the worst. They didn't want it to be. And so when I got the news that it looks like I have Graves' disease, I remember running out of I remember running out of the clinic just totally defeated, thinking, what is this? And so they told me that before I got the news, they let me know that the only hope for me was to swallow a radioactive pill, because there is no cure, they don't know what causes it. They're totally they don't know. And so I thought, a radioactive pill is not going to happen for me. Absolutely not. Because I know that is going to affect me permanently. And so I began to search and search and search. And I started researching about nutrition and supplementing. At this point, I was already on heart medication. Suddenly, I had asthma that just flared up. I had an emergency puffer and a daily puffer. And I was on daily allergy medication. And then also, it got to the point where my whole body, head to toe, was in full pain. It was so bad. Sitting hurt, standing hurt, laying hurt, everything hurt from head to toe. And my daughter would, she would see me in pain, and I would try and suck it up and pretend I'm fine. And she would just come and start giving me a massage on my back. Mommy, I can give a massage, and it was really tough. I remember how much life, I felt like I missed so much life with my daughter the last year and a half. It's like I slept the year and a half away. And my dad is like, he's my rock. My father I would drive over to his house, and I would just lay down and just be out cold for days, just sleeping, and he would wake me up to feed me, wake me up to take care of me, help me up whenever I needed it, and take care of my daughter so she didn't feel alone. She was properly going in the shower, taking her things, and all the regiments that I was just not even aware of at that point. That was just totally, she was left to her own when we're at home for some times. I really appreciate him. He really nurtured me, nurtured my daughter, and it's just amazing. But I remember, I want you to talk about it, because I feel that somehow, I know ViSalus was totally a major part of me receiving my full healing, but I want to tell you that I thank God and ViSalus. my daughter, all last year, even when I had no more hope, or very little hope, I was held on to a little, she would pray. Whenever we'd have our food, I'd make food and we'd sit down. What would you do, babe?
I would ask for your healing before we ate.
Every day, every meal, she would not take one bite of food until she prayed for my healing. And honestly, I just believe that God honored a child's prayer for her mother's health and led me to ViSalus, because it's just been miraculous, this whole experience. I no longer have, even my lifetime anemia is gone. I've always had anemia and heart murmur. My anemia is gone. My asthma issues, I'm not on a daily puffer, I'm not on allergy medication, and I don't have an emergency puffer. I was in the hospital so many times last year with asthma attacks, getting treatment for my asthma attacks. And I also had an EpiPen. And I had an EpiPen and a major reaction. I remember I had walnuts. No one told me there was walnuts in there. And I had to go right to the hospital and get an injection. It was so bad. But I don't have those major allergies. Like last year, I was allergic to almost everything that I ate. I would react to pasta out of a can, or pasta sauce out of a can, certain fruits, vegetables, anything processed. My body was rejecting everything. That's part of the autoimmune disease. You reject, literally your body is attacking itself. All its organs is just attacking it. And so my problem was I could not absorb any nutrients until a guy named Jim Renaud, he's a registered nurse and a firefighter, and he told me, listen, I can help you out. And I just thought, you know what? God, doctors can't help me. I didn't want to listen to him. I really didn't. And he talked about ViSalus. And I remember he had a little bit of a gut going on, but he was very buff for an older guy, 45 years old. But at one point, we went to go work out. I finally said, fine. I didn't want people to look at me. I was so bony. I was around 109, 111. Bones were popping out everywhere. I didn't want anyone to look at me in the gym. But I finally said, okay, fine. It was a private, smaller gym, so I went with him. And he took off his shirt and he had a six-pack. I said, what? You have a six-pack? How'd you get that? I saw you in Las Vegas. He had a gut. What? What are you doing? He says, I told you. It's this ViSalus thing. So I said, man, sign me up. Is it good for someone who wants to gain weight? He said, absolutely. So I signed up, and I started going out to that place once a week with Claudia Renkwitz, amazing lady in the company. She just encouraged me throughout the whole thing. And she didn't really know how severe my struggle was, because I hit it well. But she would bring me out every time to Saturday night boot camps, and I got addicted to those boot camps. And my daughter and I, we loved the shakes. We would go crazy for the shakes, and just all these concoctions we're making, and I just started feeling, I swear, after 2 days, I started feeling energy. I remember sitting at my computer on Facebook at I think 2 a.m. And I thought, hold on, it's 2 a.m.? It was funny because I used to be out at 5. I would struggle to stay awake. My eyes would be rolling in the back of my head at 9 a.m. And I just woke up. At 5 o'clock, I would just literally make her dinner and crawl to my bedroom and be gone. But 2 a.m. and I'm still awake? I remember getting up and I put on some music and I started practicing all the latest dances that because I'm a little bit older, right? So I had to get with it, and I had to say, okay, let me do these new dances. And I was just so excited that ViSalus was working. I have energy. This is amazing. I felt like this is what it feels like to run on full. Then I realized that I've been running on empty all the past year and a half. So I started getting in the gym, and working out. And within the first month, I had this little bit, I was like skinny fat, right? And suddenly I'm starting to see a 4-pack kind of, it's a hidden feature at that point. But you could see it kind of forming underneath the skin. I thought, in me being a person who's obsessive in some ways, I am at times, I just said, let me just go full in, 2 feet in. I want to get real deep in this fitness thing. So I started that. And in my first 90 days, it was a totally different body I was living in. The doctors were wondering, what did you do? How come we can't find Graves' disease? We cannot find any. My T3 and my T4 levels were perfect. And even my heart murmur is not as bad as it was my whole life. My anemia is gone. Gone. Anemia gone. And also my chronic neck and back. I was in over 15 car accidents. And we're talking starting from 8 months old, 10 months old, and on. So we're talking very, very hard on the body. And my body never really developed completely the way it should because of all the car accidents in between my development. But my neck and back, it hurt to carry my purse. Now Maxine is putting 150 on her back and doing some squats, all right? Yes, this is awesome. You know, I'm doing 280, 300 on my legs. I feel like Superwoman. You know, it's amazing. The transformation, ViSalus, you guys really, the way you make it sound, like it's just a shake. This is not a shake. This is a life-changing beverage. It's a life-changing company. I mean, I'm just so passionate now about ViSalus because of what it's done for me. It allowed me now to have the best quality time that I've ever had in my life with my daughter. I'm passing amazing habits to my child. So those things that my family, you know, my uncle, he died of diabetes a couple years ago when I was devastated. I was so devastated. It just made me feel so sad. I was so upset because at that point I had my own personal struggles and I wasn't able to really be as much there as I wanted to for him. And as a result, I feel like being in Nigeria, he was in Nigeria, it's not the greatest healthcare system, and he died over something like diabetes. And I promised myself that one day that I was going to work hard as I could to make sure that would never happen again. But I didn't know how I was going to contribute. I just knew I had to do something. I had to have a life change. And I had to find a way that I could be financially free enough to take care of all my family back home so that they wouldn't die over something so little as diabetes. I want to raise awareness. I want to do so much. And I can't even express in one video my passion for that. And in my uncle's name, I am going to get on that stage for ViModel, and I am going to step far out of my comfort zone, and I am going to do my very best for him and my father. That was his big brother, and he loved so much. And so I thank you. I hope you enjoy my story. But my story is her story. And it's so many other people's stories. And I'm so passionate about really getting that message out. So thank you so much. And God bless you. Thank you. You have no idea how much I want to thank you, ViSalus. You guys have literally given me life a second chance. And I thank you. I know it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me either.